And good afternoon. Welcome everyone to this TOPdesk webinar on one of the hottest days this summer. So I'm very happy that you were still able to attend. Today's topic is System Administrator Appreciation Day, and I hope to give you some tips and tricks on how to make your life as a TOPdesk sysadmin a bit easier. Firstly, I am your host. My name is Pascal van Tilborg, and I'm a technical product consultant, which means that I work for the service desk here at TOPdesk, and I've been doing so for about 4 years now. And in that role, I'm a bit of a trainer as well. So I coach and train my fellow colleagues, and I also manage to visit our customers whom I help in becoming better application managers. And I also train other service desk employees of our customers. Not only that, I'm also a member of the SaaS team, so I'm also really into that. And most of all, I have to say I'm also, of course, a user of TOPdesk. That is to say, I use it every day. It's part of my job. So not only I tell people how to use it, I am a user. I usually use it 8 hours every day. And that's probably also why I'm sitting here being your host. Now, of course, I'd like to pretend that I'm here all by myself, but I'm not. I'm also helped by my invisible assistant, Yasha, who will be answering your questions if you have any in the chat. So if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask Yasha. What are going to be our topics today? Actually, I'm not very good at presentations, I have to be honest. I'm more of a show and tell kind of person. So firstly, I am going to do a quick run through of what I imagine to be a morning in the life of an application manager. It will be relatively short, about 15 to 20 minutes. That's mostly because I think that most application managers like doing things quickly. So do I. And another topic of the day, of course, will be, and it's a bit cheesy, but true, it's going to be you. It's going to be you because it's Sysadmin Day, it's your day. And if you have any questions, please don't be afraid to ask. Actually, I have already prepared a poll for you. So just to see what you're interested in, my apologies, which I will be sharing with you shortly. And if you could give me the answer, then I can better help you today. So you should be receiving the poll right now. And if you can give an answer to this, that would be great. And the numbers are already coming in. And I'll wait for about 30 more seconds. Let's see who wins out on this race. Yeah, 80% of you already voted. So I assume, look at this, about half of you either spend 8 or more hours. Am I seeing that correctly? No, over 3/4 are working with TOPdesk more than 8 hours a week, and some of you even more than 24 hours. I'm pleasantly surprised. Because I do talk to a lot of customers, and they barely have 4 hours. One of you said less than 4 hours, so I hope you will be entertained by this webinar, because this one's for you, basically. And now I've got a second poll, also share with you. And that's whether or not you use TOPdesk SaaS or not. Because some of the features and functionalities I'm going to be showing will be in SaaS. And if you don't use SaaS, you won't be able to use them just yet. Nice. Again, I'm going to wait a few seconds for everyone to be able to vote. And the votes are in. About 78% of you either are using SaaS or really want to, and that 2% don't. I am going to make sure that both parties are entertained during this webinar. So whether you're using SaaS or not, but I will be focusing on SaaS a bit more because the majority of you are using SaaS. That's why. Let's see. So if I can now close my presentation, I'm actually going to start with the actual webinar. Let's see. One second, please. There we go. This is also the reason why I'm a TOPdesk supporter, not a Microsoft supporter. Anyway, yes, and my assistant also told me that I have to close the poll, of course. So let's see. Yes, the poll's closed now, and let's start with the actual presentation. So I can imagine if you're an application manager, then you have some routine work, but you also have some project-minded work, right? And what's really good for working with projects in TOPdesk is the Kanban board, which is a relatively new feature in TOPdesk. I know that about 5% of our customers use it, so that's why I'm showing it, just so you know how it works. So I imagine to be a Sysadmin today, named David Powell, and today's project day, and I want to pick up one of my projects. And the first thing I do is open the Kanban board, immediately set to my own operator group, application management. It has several columns, and I have some interesting things in my to-do list. Actually, I see one that's even directly assigned to me, so I find it to be very interesting. And I open this incident, and I see on the right here that my colleague Don Meadows is a bit frustrated because a lot of open calls, and you ask the caller for a reply, but they never reply. And you would like to have a feature that you automatically close a call after 5 days. Now that would be really cool, and I like technical things, so I'm going to try to pick this up. So I'm just going to move this in progress and open this second line call. Now, some of you might already notice there's an extra cool little feature in this second line call. It's a checklist. These used to be known as partial incidents, but for partial calls, and these days they're available on the general tab of a call. And basically it stipulates what I should be doing. So if you're familiar with change management, you could see them as activities as well. It's a pretty simple sequence, which I've already built because I'm David Powell. And I realized that I need to create an action sequence. An action sequence is a feature on TOPdesk that allows you to automate things. And the first step of them would be to actually create the action sequence, right? So I'm thinking, all right, I'm a sysadmin and I have to create a new action sequence. So I go to action management and then I click on action sequence. And let's make it for second line calls. Click this button. And then I'm scratching my head because I don't use TOPdesk that much. And as David Powell, and I see stuff writing up red, and I have to fill in some URL, and there are all kinds of buttons here and tabs that don't mean anything to me right now. I'm a bit confused. So how do I get around this? Well, the manual, obviously, because of course I'm a sysadmin for a reason. I like technical questions, so I go to the manual. And of course, we've got a great page, extranet.topdesk.com, where you can log in to our extranet, which has all our manuals. Now, because I am actually an employee of TOPdesk, I can't access that page, but I can access pretty much the same page you do. Encounter this, and you can immediately click in the search bar to search for whatever you want, maybe an extra sequence. And to close a call, maybe that exists. Let's see. Oh, great. There's some info on this. And, well, a bit of a spoiler, but of course we have actually a quite extensive library of pre-made extra sequences which you can just download. My advice is generally read what's down here because that's actually very important. But like I said, I want to do something quick today. So all I have to do is download one of these, like that. And then I can go here, click on import, just say yes, open, and hopefully, let's see, still import. Let's see, and though it's quite complicated, there are some rules here that basically says enter API user, application password, TOPdesk URL, and the status that you want. Now, again, if you want to know a lot about APIs, then we've got different webinars for that. I just happen to know that I can just use myself in here. Which will be David Powell. The application password, which I still have to set, and you can set it over here. There you go. Just put it in there. URL of my TOPdesk environment, which I steal from over here. And then, let's see, the status name. And that basically means the status that is closed. So I'm just going to cheat. Well, really cheat, sneak a peek, and realize that it's probably solved that I need. So that's probably good. There we go. Yes, and that should be it. Online. And I want to test it, of course, because again, I wouldn't be a good sysadmin if I didn't test my stuff. And of course, if I were a genuinely good sysadmin, I wouldn't be doing this in a production environment, but just for simplicity's sake. There we go. So fill in random user, random, let's see, category, tests, just so I have something, right? Standard mails, beautiful when you need them, not so beautiful when you don't want them to pop up. And did I save? Of course I forgot to save. Let's see, so I'll just reopen this. By the way, this menu, as an actual tip, is great. So you, for instance, can open your recently viewed cards this way. I use it all the time. You can just reopen the previous incident. It's here. Now, fingers crossed, because I tried this out before and it worked beautifully. Let's see if this also happens live. Let's see again. Uh-oh, I made a mistake here. Let's see if I can fix it within. Let's see. Ah, that's really a shame. Let's go. Maybe I downloaded the wrong thing. Maybe I made a typo. It's also possible, of course. I think because we are limited in time here, I'm going to skip trying to troubleshoot this live because, of course, I don't want to take too much of your time. I think I just made a typo somewhere. Just assume that generally this simply works. And I can tell you that generally this works within about 5 minutes. So that's great. So instead of spending about 2 hours trying to build an action sequence and digging through all kinds of manuals, you'll be able to make one in about 5 to 10 minutes. My personal record is 3 minutes, so you'll be able to do so too. Now, assuming that everything went as expected, let's assume this for simplicity's sake. Let's see. We'll go back to our original incident. By the way, I don't like clutter, so I'm just going to clean this up. All other tabs, like this. So I've created one. Now, officially, I'm of course here, because I'm still testing it. Then normally what I would do is create an event, something along the lines of maybe where 5 days after a second line call has been set to completed, we'll close the call. And subsequently, I'll test both of them, and then I can simply close the call, right? And of course, have a bit more text than just test. Let's see. So you might be interested after seeing this, like how to set this up, because these are some interesting new features in TOPdesk that really help with organizing your life, helps organizing my life. If you have permissions, then you can create your own common board. So that's great. For instance, just hit create common board. Give it the title you want. So, for instance, let's call it Sysadmin Day for today. And also the groups that can access it. So maybe your own application management for me, maybe also IT services, and for example's sake, just for the fun of it, catering. Then TOPdesk also prompts you that you're not completely done. You can just hit edit and actually organize the common board in such a way that each column actually corresponds to the status of the call under it. So the common board is not just an overview. If you click and drag a call, you can close it that way as well. You have to assign the right statuses for that, so I'm just going to do that. in a way that makes sense to me right now. Let's see. Save. And now if I, for instance, drag this example incident, then it will be closed automatically by the Kanban board, which is great. So try that for yourselves. It's really easy to set up. You can also filter the Kanban board, by the way. So if you really only want to see your own thing, which does happen because a lot of times the Kanban board gets really cluttered, I can just only look at the things that I have on my own name. So maybe, let's see, David Powell for today. Just one, it's the one I just closed. One last cool feature in the thing right now is notes. So you can't insert changes just yet, by the way. So if you're wondering why don't I see any changes, it's because it's not in yet. But it is something that we really want to have in there. In the meantime, you can create a note. So imagine you do want to have a change in there. You can insert a note, create note, sorry, example note, assign to my own group. And then in the description, let's see, link to a change, such as, let's see, this one. It's about coffee machine. It's also about coffee machines in a demo database. Let's see. Like that. And it turns into a clickable link. So you can just open it that way. The only downside is that if you drag it from one end to the other, it doesn't actually change the status of the change. Not yet, but it will be in very soon. So another thing that you noticed probably, and it was that I was using checklists. Let's see where mine is. Yes, let's reopen this call. Again, a very useful feature. The nice thing about this one as well is that you can also save it as a template, but we've done here as well. So you don't only create a one-time list, you can actually save this as a template. And then you can reuse it in the new incident. So I would actually create a new second line. And again, TOPdesk, let's see, software, TOPdesk. Then I can apply an existing template like this. In this case, also when I save the template, I also automatically assign an operator to it, but you can also leave it blank. By the way, if you're ever really interested in what's under this, you can actually open the subtask and see that it's its own incident card. In practice, you never have to do this. By the way, I already have my first question from you. And again, don't be afraid to ask questions. The question is, are notes currently only available on SaaS? And what about checklists? And the answer is, it's currently only available on SaaS. So if we go to the settings of TOPdesk, so if you're on SaaS and you want to use it, by the way, it's currently in labs. So in the test phase, if you want to use notes, then you have to, let's see, activate notes on Kanban board. which are currently on. And it's the same for checklists, I think. I think checklists are currently out of labs. That means that no, they're not. My mistake, sorry. They're still in labs, and you have to activate them by hitting this button. Also, if you have any current second line incidents with partial calls on them, then this will remove the partial call tab. Let's see. So yeah, back to the story. So I was explaining how this is an interesting feature that for you to use, try it out, and also something, again, just like the common board, we want to make it better, right? So in its current form, it's what we call MVP, which means it's a minimal viable product. Right now, just a checklist, but we want to do more with it. So in the future, you'll be able to chain together actions within a task within a checklist, make relationships between them, parallel as well, and hopefully, eventually it will replace change management. Not there yet, but I'm pretty sure that this is going to be very cool. By the way, and maybe this is from my experience as a support employee, if you're involved with the more technical stuff of TOPdesk, right, and it breaks. And also the extranet is great because, for instance, if you have any issues with the mail import, then we just have a knowledge item, how to troubleshoot the mail import. It's really extensive, has a lot of knowledge items in them. Great example of shift left as well, if you're familiar with that concept, so where we are pushing all the information that we have to your end. And yeah, if you have any issue and you don't know where to find the answer, then the extranet is always a very good place to begin. By the way, some of you might also use, for instance, single sign-on. Guess what? We have a SAML troubleshooting knowledge item you can also use. I can't stress enough how helpful this is. And every day there's more and more info on there. And I really think this is also a great example of working with TOPdesk. You know, you have the product itself, but then there's also a service around it. So always go here. By the way, if you're wondering, how can I log into this great place? Ask one of your colleagues, because they'll have a tile here. It says manage contact persons. And they will be able to add you to the list of people that are able to log into the extranet. So that's great. Quite a few of you said that you were SaaS customers, so I'm going to go into that direction as well. A lot of things on SaaS these days, the things that we used to do for you are now automated. So if you have any questions about, can I restart my environment, or can I transfer my production database to my test environment, we have forms for that. So for instance, if you want to even migrate to SaaS, of course, we've got a form for that, but then if you want to restart TOPdesk, if you want to allow my colleagues into your environment, that's possible, change IP restrictions, etc. It's quite an extensive list, and again, we're trying to make this better as well, because that's what we like doing. Yeah, and then one more thing I also wanted to show you. I already hinted at it, but I'm going to show it to you again. And that's the action sequence library. So if you heard about the action sequences, think, oh, I want to automate things, I think it's really cool, but I don't have the time for it, or I just don't know how these things work. We have quite an extensive library of default action sequences which you should be able to use right away. For instance, management, change management, from anything from closing incidents to, let's say, automatically escalating incidents, assigning the correct operator group, that kind of thing. All right, I just had my invisible assistant just told me that we're about to run out of time, so I'm actually going to close. So this entire process, you know, that I just showed you are all examples of like how, as a sysadmin, everything can be just a bit better. So we have to come on board. It gives you more overview, hopefully, and makes things go just a tad faster. We've got checklists which give more overview and hopefully make things more organized as well. And finally, also, we've got this extensive action sequence library with which you can automate your services. Before I close, I think I might have time for one more question. I'm looking at my assistant right now. She says yes. So if any of you have any pressing questions, just let me know. Yeah. As far as I can tell, there is no large questions anymore or anything specific to this session. If you do have any further questions, speaking as a support employee, don't be afraid to call us. So don't be afraid to call our support department. Don't be afraid to contact your account manager as well, because he or she will be able to help you further. Also, any questions that you've already asked Yasha during this session, she'll write out, and we'll try to answer them as well as possible. Well, having said that, I'd like to thank you for attending this webinar. And also, most importantly, I'd like to wish you a very, a very happy Sysadmin Day. And yeah, maybe sooner or later I'll be able to talk to you on the phone. So, have a nice day.